can make sound mind decisions. And so then all of a sudden things go ahead and go to the city council without being approved by you guys. And so it's just quite sad that we can't be open and honest with the public in a manner that is transparent, because if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't be you know doing things to keep information from people that are supposed to be making really important decisions for the public, and giving the public information so that they can then provide testimony on whether or not they're approving of these measures. So it's very negligent of the police to be doing that. And then having things go ahead to the city council. It negates you guys even being here, which is really sad because you were put in this position for a reason. But if what you guys say doesn't matter and the city goes ahead and approves things behind your back, I mean, not really, but just basically without needing your approval, this whole process is moot.
Thank you,
So
ma'am. Your time. Thank you. Oh,
hello? I don't know what's happening.
okay.
Are you wanting me to keep speaking? I'm not sure what's
Go ahead and
going
continue.
on. Oh,
You have 2 minutes. You had 2 minutes, actually.
so how long do I have left? Sorry.
You have 30 seconds still.
30 seconds.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I just think it's important because you guys have this position to make sure that we're informing the public of things that are really important that are going to affect their lives on a massive scale. So, I just hope that as this moves forward, that the police can, provide the information so that you guys can make decisions with information and not just kind of off the cuff because you don't have what is necessary to provide you with the information so that you can make a good decision. Whatever, it's fine. I'm good. Thank you.
I think that concludes online comment.
For the record, I'd like to show that Dr. Brown has arrived.
We should note on the record that Dr. Brown has arrived. I had to. Yeah, I think there's a theme of the board not getting the information that it wants and needs in a timely manner, and so let the record. Not let the record show, but the record speaks for itself. Any comments on the board for the approval of July minutes? Raise a motion then to pass the July minutes.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous. Moving on then to item 3, non-agenda public comment. We have some comments. Caleb Williamson, Blair Beekman, Lily Irani, Tasha Williamson. Thank you. Caleb will be ceding time to Tasha. Blair, then Lily, and then Tasha. 4 minutes.
Two minutes today. Thank you very much. I think we have important good ways to tie up several years of loose ends with the surveillance and tech accountability practices in San Diego. That can include how to be more open and accountable, that there is simply much surveillance tech already in place within San Diego smart streetlights. We need to work towards understanding and trust building this fall and to invite more people to good ideas of minimal responsible use and practices of surveillance tech to more reasonably address current public safety and current concerns and needs. We need to better consider a broader picture of well-established good guidelines of how tech accountability can work towards ideas of peace and open participatory democracy and its ways of good public oversight. All of this can simply work to lessen the grip of the prison military industrial state. I hope the amendments process with the tech oversight ordinance will not be inhibiting, but adding to a really good future of open tech accountability practices the entire community should be involved with this fall. We're doing some really important work at this time, and I'm concerned that we're at a time to really build something really important. We've had an initial process of internalizing things and figuring things out. I really hope this fall can be a time to really practice our good things. And in the amendment process that's going on, I'm not fully clear on it yet, but there really needs to be ways, I think, that it can be addressed while at the same time really looking at a larger picture of what we're trying to do here and what's possible. We're really talking about open democracy and concepts of peace, not war. How to address the prison industrial state. Those should be the questions we're addressing here. And I hope we don't get bogged down in things. And thank you.
Thank you, Blair. Billy?
Yeah, so my comments today are non-agenda because they're about some of the proposals for oversight that were posted to a public safety committee agenda a few weeks ago. So Trust Coalition wishes to collaborate on areas where the city has met with difficulties in the process. But we want to voice concerns with requests with some of the requests that we're worried were implied by the slides, but we also understand like we haven't seen the whole presentation yet. And so maybe this will help answer questions that. So there's a line in the slide about problems acquiring grants with the oversight process. And then many grantors want a kind of clean and unencumbered process without conditions. From the coalition, and it threatens the integrity of the ordinance to say that we would exempt technology acquired with grants from surveillance oversight. I don't know if that is what is meant. The Homeland Security Grant Program, just as one example, run by FEMA, has doled out $28 billion to state and local agencies since 2002, according to MIT Technology Review. And that's just one program that is part of how surveillance technologies are getting chosen and adopted by cities. So we understand the city needs to apply for grants, and the purpose of oversight is to make sure the community input is accounted for in all of these surveillance technologies. We know the PAB seeks a collaborative relationship with the city to help adopt responsible tech, and Trust wishes to collaborate as well. We ask you to just make sure that the oversight applies to all surveillance technologies as we're trying to refine the process by which we're working together. Thank you so much.
Tasha?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I want to say to you today, in the spirit of what transparency really is, because the press conference that Chief David Nislight and Mayor Todd Gloria held was against accountability and transparency. How would a mayor disrespect his own city board?
I'm sorry, hold on a second. Is Caleb here?
He's right outside.
Not in chambers? I think I saw him. Okay. Yep. Sorry.
Okay.
I thought you meant like not here.
No, he's here.
I interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Because the press conference that Chief Dave Nislight and Mayor Todd Gloria held was against accountability and transparency. What mayor would disrespect his own city board? Todd Gloria. He is neither a champion for the poor or middle class. He is a liar who told the public he was a champion for homelessness, giving out a 14 plan for African Americans, telling the public he was going to ensure officers followed the laws and promised reform. All lies. How dare Mayor Todd Gloria and Chief Nislight lie to the public using the media to talk about the threat of public safety and coming in the spirit of transparency. They have together failed the public and in a corrupt fashion of cover-ups like 101 Ash Street. They have covered up illegal searches, illegal stops, illegal arrests, and have failed to be transparent in uploading all SB 16 required investigations. Todd's failure to hold the top cop and his corrupt department accountable in the spirit of transparency is as following. Officers have failed to fill out RIPA data stop forms. Officers have failed to be held accountable for misusing tools they carry on their duty belts and body-worn camera every day. Todd, Gloria, and Chief Neslight have proven they need a level of accountability, and that is you. I pray and hope that the public understands and looks at real information, that you look at what they are really doing when they tried to cover up Officer ex-SDPD Officer Hare, who locked himself in the backseat of a patrol car with the woman he arrested, with his body-worn camera and his duty belt with his gun in the front seat. He resigned 2 weeks after we made it public. You have Officer Joseph Fryer, who slept with women while on duty, parking his patrol vehicle in their driveway. They've not made that public. They've not shared that information. Why would anyone think that they would do right with streetlights? Why would anyone think that they would do right with any types of tools that they use when they have not done right by us now? Shame on them. Shame on them. And I hope this is the last session that we have Mayor Todd Gloria, the liar, the mayor of San Diego.
Thank you. We have one comment online.
Yeah, as you can see from people's expressions, there's a lot of corruption going on. It's on a massive scale. And I just want to thank Blair for informing me about this meeting, because you guys were, the last one you didn't have. And then, all of a sudden these meetings kind of get snuck in. And I think the people need to be more aware of these meetings so that they know that they can come in and redress things that they don't feel comfortable with. But the problem is nobody knows about them. And then especially when they're kind of snuck up on the people, and with all the corruption in the police department, the mayor's office, and even the city council, seeing that we have all of these hundreds of technologies that are little by little going to be trickling out into the public sphere. How can we trust the police when just with this new technology with the ALPR is coming into play, they can't even be transparent and be, open with the public. And that's very telling and very damning, because you should be open to the public when you want them to trust you. But when there's no amount of trust, because they're literally, crumbling it with every step that they take. And claiming that they're doing these things for the public, it's more to the public. And so the trust of the public is wavering, and it's dwindling as we speak. And there's good reason for that, because we shouldn't trust people who are bringing in these technologies that are supposedly out to protect us, but really they're being used against the people worldwide. So, it's just very sad that we have these people that, take an oath to uphold a constitution that they don't even know what it says, and aren't willing to uphold it and uphold every right within that. They are making it a business. And so they come after the people and write them tickets and do all these things. They don't protect their rights. And so it's a very sad place that we're in, because, the people that we should be able to go to protect us are the ones coming against us.
I think there were a few comments on this morning's mayor media briefing, flanked with public safety leadership. Police chief, take some time to watch that video if you haven't. It would probably inform some of the comments. Any board comments on that non-agenda? Also, I think we kickstarted that off with ordinance changes. So kind of lingering there, threatening is changes to the ordinance, but also threats to the ordinance itself. All right, without further ado, we'll move on to item 4. Oh, I was asking if there were board comments for item 3.
Yeah, I just think I did watch the press conference that the mayor had this morning, and it was frankly for somebody who is volunteering my time, putting a lot of energy, it was extremely disheartening to see the mayor get up and, essentially say that this ordinance, which is there to give transparency, was in fact obstructing justice, as if the board, the ordinance, those people who are involved and who advocated it, ironically, he's amongst those people, were somehow in favor of literally mentioning things like child molestation and rape, despite the fact that without these technologies, the city is actually a safer place. So again, really disheartening. It seems like posturing and theater in order to put pressure on us to bend to the will of the city and the mayor and the police. So I appreciate the callers who called in to speak towards that. And I think it's a larger issue that we needed to discuss kind of as a board. What does that mean when we're constantly under pressure from the city and really being dismissed as if we don't actually care for the city that we're a part of and aren't actually interested in using the ordinance for create real public safety.
I think there's a couple of themes that some of them we've all kind of caught on, right? And some of them are easier to address than others, but you certainly struck on a few of them being, we were sought after and appointed among, over 1 million San Diegans to do this job for a reason. Heed our advice. We put a lot of effort into it. We put a lot of thought into it. None of the words that are written down there are a waste. That message is, I wouldn't say it's ringing, it's starting to ring. I think we're starting to see members within city council or as members within the media also repeat this. I think we're starting to see city council started to demand our presence more. One of the things that was mentioned by Public Safety Council was making sure the PAB gets not just a comment in or just a recommendation to be heard or not, but we also are continually part of the process. You're absolutely right. I think it's a continuous battle. This will all be a continuous battle for I think we're always going to be more than a rubber stamp, but it's always going to be to what extent can we stand here and say we're working to ensure that civil liberties, privacy rights are being defended at every step of every policy being passed. But what it takes to get there, I think we're going to see a lot of this, I think, for initially, but we are seeing some of those changes, and you're definitely not blind, but I think we are starting to see some of that ring through. So let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens with this Public Safety Council discussion that we're brought into, that we're asked by Council Member Van Olpert to partake in and make sure that this contract gets readily addressed with scrutiny. But let's get there when we get there. I have a sense of frustration, and I think it would be remiss to not acknowledge that. So thanks, Khalid.
I have a comment as well. Just to follow up on Khalid's point. I was really impressed with the community turnout. I think there was overwhelming concern about the surveillance technology, and so I don't feel that the board was out of step with what people were concerned about in the hearings that we had. As a matter of fact, I think our vote was consistent with what people were concerned about. So I don't feel that we were out of line with the view of the public. And I also thought that there was a lot of expertise that we drew on. This wasn't just obstructionists. We don't just have an obstructionist agenda. I thought there was a lot of expertise and a lot of detail and a lot of research. We brought in experts. And so I thought our decision was very informed. So I just want the public to know that, we hold this board to a high standard, and we listen to the people, and we do our homework. And I think the community should know that.
%. Any further comments on agenda? Item 4. All right. Plan to provide feedback, Public Safety Committee for agreement with Ubiquia for smart streetlight and ALPR technology. I mentioned before, given a memo, this was not, sorry. Yeah, this was not something that was brought up to us as a surprise. This is foreshadowed, alluded to for some time. We had our initial recommendation before the contracts were sought. Councilmember Von Wilper, Chair of Public Safety Committee, made a note during Public Safety Committee deliberations that this is something that we'll need to address when that contract has been obtained. It's been posted. Please, it's up for your perusal. Something that in such a short time frame, the board is always welcome to emphasis on areas that may not get a lot of insight. So reaching out to the public as always. We can do board discussion on our initial approach and see if this is the time to appoint an ad hoc, but we do have some public comments in the meantime. No discussion on this. Just want to make a point too that we are, this is a discussion item. This is not an action item. We are not going to walk away with a recommendation with further notes today. That is for the next meeting. This is for initial plan. Are we going to make a committee? So just wanted to make sure comments, keep that in mind. This is not that discussion. This is the item 4, item 5 focus. But we'll go ahead and do the public comments. We have Blair Beekman, followed by Lily Irani, followed by Tasha Williamson.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks for your words today, everyone. And thank you for 2 minutes for public comment. In the hopeful good work of a small inner circle of SD city government and others this August and September, local community advocacy, to create a good beginning organization and study and preparedness for the public with the smart streetlight contract with Ubiquia. This Ubiquia contract review process now needs to begin to learn how to better coordinate, facilitate, and to trust that the open good ideas and voices of everyday community can usually always be of help for the better with projects like this. Can the San Diego community begin to better consider a long, open public review for the smart streetlight contract process this fall at this point? I think that when this item appears tomorrow, at public safety, if it's going to want to be quickly approved to the full city council for a final approval and for this process to be over quickly, I think that's an option you guys have, but I don't think it's the best option. I'm really hopeful that this is meant to have a time period of open public review, and that the community can really help weigh in and help you, the PAB, with a really good decision process about the contract things, about subcontractor things, good civil protection ideas for the subcontractor things that I know you guys are working on and want to work on, that we now have a chance to do this really openly and everybody's invited. And that's the kind of stuff that's to be celebratory for Mayor Todd at this time. This is really building our good stuff, our real good future, the future that we're meant to have. And we keep trying to pull that back and hinder it. And I wish we won't. I hope we have a really good process this fall. And I'm going to do everything to be a part of that. And you guys know that in my letter writing already. Good timetables. Thanks.
Lily, followed by Tasha.
Yeah, so my comment is about there's a reading of, we've been reading the Ubiquia contract and the Trust Coalition as well as the Flock contract, but I'm going to focus on Flock. And what I'm sharing with you is based on reading done by others in the coalition. So I thank them for their work. Similar to the Ubiquia contract, the Flock contract says that the city owns a copy of all the data, but actually Flock also owns aggregated data, support and maintenance data. So effectively Flock owns a copy of all the data that the city generates and can do whatever it wants with it. Flock's business model is not only providing useful tools for catching cars on hot lists. Flock is a many hundreds of millions of dollar company that promises to develop artificial intelligence models that will develop, predictive profiles, like detect patterns of movement. San Diego does not have to give over all of its citizens' data to make us lab rats for companies developing models on us for the functionality the police say they want. There are surely simpler ALPR systems that are not centralized or not cloud-based and do not threaten to kind of leak our data to cities and to federal jurisdictions that we don't want to have them, let alone the venture capital funded labs of research and development and tech. So, if you want to achieve the public safety goals that you say, there are simpler technologies and less costly technologies to do so. And I'm looking forward to the PABS analysis of this issue. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay, yeah, more. No. I just want to say to you all that, there are thousands, tens of thousands of community members that don't even understand this process. They don't understand, even what kind of board you are. They're not included. They don't know or have access to internet technology. This is just not a friendly city when it comes to public awareness and marketing. They do a horrible job. And so I would just impress on you to continue to be educated and continue to investigate, continue to reach out to the public and go to the meetings that you can so that you can gain that knowledge and figure out ways to bring the public here or have meetings out in the public so that more people can attend and be a part of this. I'm very not trusting of the government because the government has failed too many people. And so I know that before they even bring it to the public, they've had the backdoor meetings. They've already realized who they want to partner with and fund. And then they give it to you on a silver platter. And so I would just say, thank you for your time being here. But I do not feel comfortable having my information or my children's information, which I will share next item, being made public to anyone who works with the police department, because the police department has seriously failed me and my children and continues to do so. And they are the biggest threat to our lives. Thank you.
Online comment?
Yeah, I'd like to echo that last comment because what's happening is really terrifying. I mean, if we look at what is going on in China and how they're using all of this technology with, included with the social credit score, and people can't even buy food. And like she said, they wrap it up in such a beautiful package on a silver platter and trying to hand it to you like this is going to benefit your life. But it really isn't. It's not going to. It's going to hinder our movement. And that's the whole point, is they need more control. These ALPRs are used in other countries to see if people have actually gone past a low emission zone and are ticketing them because they're, driving in a gas car past a zone that they should be only using electric. So, the more that freedoms that we give up under the guise of it being safety, it really isn't for that. And all of this data, and if what that woman said is true about the FLAC, and it is just in general, because no data is secure. And no matter how much the police want to say that they're going to own it, it still has a third party involved. And so therefore, we don't have control over what happens with that data. And if these people want to do stuff with AI models and patterns of movement, that leaves us up to be susceptible to being tracked and traced in a different manner than you're letting people on to believe. That's what's so negligent of the police, is that this is the only sole contract. It's a sole source contract. They're saying it's the only option. There's other options always. And if that's the only choice, then maybe we need to take a step back and make sure that this is the path that we want to go down. Because right now we're leading into a place where China is, and that is not a place of security or safety or freedom. That is a place where you are tracked and traced, and every movement and move that you make and person you talk to is written down, and it is held against you. So like even coming to a meeting like this, it could make it so that I can't eat food. And I don't know if you guys think that that's a joke or what, but this is serious and people's lives are at stake right now. And we're just like kind of giving up.
That concludes public comment. I think we'll open it up to the board for at least initial discussion, brainstorm. Go ahead and start. Tora, then Sid.
Okay, so first of all, for me, after we received, after we did, our draft policy, I wanted to find out if this was the time for me to present the additions that I would like, or is that in item 5? This is.
Yeah, this is purely for the smart
Okay.
street ALPR technology initial plan.
Okay, so the feedback on that is, I really, I started taking notes as soon as we got the contract. And for me, someone who's an IT professional, it really bothered me that we are paying, or the city is set to pay $11 million on hardware that we don't own. For someone like me who, does this every day and all the time, that was a problem for me. And I was hoping that we could maybe ask the council to renegotiate that piece, only because hardware is cheap. I mean, storage is cheap hardware costs, right? That's the rule in IT. So if we're going to put out all that money as a city, I feel like those should become our assets, period. And that's just where I stand when it comes to I'm not sure what the contracting says, or what the back and forth was with this vendor. Another situation that I have an issue with, as just for me as an IT person and cybersecurity professional, I have a hard time with no data backups and strictly keeping the third-party vendor as the gatekeeper of the data. Because the way I see it, this is just my own opinion, anything captured on those cameras or ALPR is evidence. And that evidence is acquired under the guise of law enforcement or the city. And so to say that that doesn't belong to the city, except for, I think we're getting into an intellectual property situation. It was acquired here for law enforcement or for the city, but we only have access to it through the vendor. And so my questions for this was, where's the backup? Do we have a local backup? Do we have our own cloud services? And things like that. So that was a concern for me. Also, another thing that I appreciated, San Diego Privacy did bring this up as well. But something that I did appreciate, and I, I had already made these notes prior to getting their information. And I want to say this very gently, but what made us go with this company? Were there other options? Are we just continuing because we already have it in place? The only reason why I say that is one of the things you don't want to do when you're dealing with technology is committing to one company that has the patents and the only option for replacement of parts, things like that. And so for me, I mean, I'm glad that, they've come a long way. They've done their wheeling and dealing with contracting. But when you only have one source for hardware or one source for data access, it becomes a problem. There's no data integrity because it doesn't flow, right? You can't call another company or a backup and say, hey, I need this because this isn't working. They're out of it. And what happens when supply chain happens again, where we can't get those because only this company uses it or only this company can provide it? And it just so happens to be that company is the company that we're contracted with. So I just, I want sort of some type of an assurance from the company that, we're a priority if parts or things like that, with this equipment is needed. And I sort of wanted to see like some type of a tiered priority for the city as a customer. And I'll leave it at that, but I had some other thoughts. I'll just leave it at that. I was very uncomfortable as an IT professional.
Would the city's lack of disclosing the vendor until very late in the process flag you as very, very suspicious? Like, why hide that unless there's something dirty with this vendor in the first place or the process of choosing them?
I don't know. I've seen this before and I wouldn't call it suspicious. I would just, in my opinion, I think it took a lot for them to come up with this agreement. That's what when I'm reading through this, I sort of feel like maybe the city said, hey, we want this. And then the contractor said, no, we want to give you that. Or I feel like we got it when it was available. And I don't know the background, but I don't see it as suspicious. I just sort of see it as there had to be something going on with the negotiations. That's what I see. We do this all the time in tech, right? We talk to a company, they have what we want. There's 3 other companies that have it too, right? But why are you the best one? Why are we using you? What can you give us to make us the best customer for you?
There's certainly, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go ahead and let Sid continue after this. There's certainly a number of plausible, reasonable reasons why you wouldn't be very forthcoming with the vendor, particularly until you have everything ready to go. We're already in this era, we're already in this stage of things where we're not expecting a lot of forthcoming, a lot of straightforward, good faith information. So like, why would you risk? I'm speaking from a hypothetical, okay, even if there wasn't something wrong with this, you could score some really easy points by saying, okay, well, let's try to resolve that once and for all. Because even if we believe it, even if we are convinced, even if we are sure and we can prove it, we still have the public and the community to correspond to. And
I just want to say one more thing. When I looked at the date of this, right, September 29th, I just felt like, oh, that's what made me think, okay, we're getting it right away, but something happened, something went on with the negotiations. So that's why I'm a little uneasy about, just saying, oh, suspicious. I just feel like maybe the brightest minds weren't in the room when they were negotiating this. That's all I'm saying. And I don't mean on either side. I'm just saying, there's a give and take when it comes to dealing with a vendor. And securing.
did you have something on this, or was it something that could come after Sid's?
It is. I just wanted to point out that as part of the surveillance impact assessment, one of the things that they're required to do is to talk about alternatives, is to talk about why this versus that. And that was one of the things that we pointed out in our report that was missing, that we didn't understand. That was one of the main questions I had, was why this vendor, not that one. That was just never answered, even though it was required by the ordinance.
And real quick, I don't know that this looks like it came from the chief revenue officer. I'm not sure. And it's on purchasing and contracting. I don't know that. I'm not seeing the delay with the police department. I'm seeing there's some city stuff happening with city contracts. So I try to be very careful when I look at this and objective. So.
So I know I'm looking at the agenda here, and I guess the plan is to provide feedback to the Public Safety Committee. And I understand that they're meeting very soon to make a decision. Tomorrow. And are they voting on this contract?
It's going forward regardless. They want us to provide feedback before it goes to full council.
So this is essentially the last opportunity to get any feedback before they move forward.
I would also note that there's a brand new use policy on the LPR and the smart streetlight side. So or sorry, on the LPR and, it's brand new, so it's worthy of looking into that.
Yeah, so the reason why I asked the question about the public safety committees, because I think the comments we're hearing today are appropriate. There are so many questions that are outstanding about this contract that I think my recommendation, one of the things I would like to propose is more time for public input on the contract, but it doesn't, if I'm understanding you correctly, that's not going to be a possibility because they're going to move forward regardless. Is that correct?
So the Public Safety Committee is discussing this tomorrow. They want our input before it goes to full council. So when we talk again on October 26th, we're going to have more substance. We're actually going to vote on what we're going to recommend for full council. What happens at full council? I don't know. That's where they're going to vote to either approve or not. But yes, we do not have time to provide comments to the Public Safety Committee by tomorrow. That's correct.
But we will to the council when they vote before the council.
Unless they vote before October 26th.
Okay, so one of the things I would like to do today, I'm not sure how to put forth the motion for this, but to have more time for public input on the contract and maybe bring some people in to talk about some of the issues that were brought up earlier in the chambers here.
Just thinking of approach here, I mean, there's the actual meeting tomorrow, Public Safety Committee. I think they've made clear what their intentions are going to be. We can put forth our own memo. We can put forth something for them tomorrow, which maybe a bit late at this point, or for full council. I don't think that's, if the intention here is to deter the council versus Public Safety Committee, right? That I think should steer our action.
Right, well, I would think once the Public Safety Committee makes their recommendation that it is likely going to be too late by the time it gets to council. I don't, maybe you have a different view on that. I don't know.
I don't have, I mean, I really think it depends on the recommendation. Like, are there pieces missing that the city could be liable, open for lawsuits? I think that is a very different issue than other issues people may have with a contract. And I think that we're still to determine that, right, what those issues are, because it's still very new, new documents altogether. So I think it depends. I wish I could say, that's kind of that's the issue here. We're trying to figure out. Go.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating for me because I'm learning how the city works. And so the Public Safety Committee, the chair of the Public Safety Committee recognizes that this board has people on it who can give insight into a recommendation, yet they've already decided, despite the fact that they know that they need that kind of advice and insight, they've basically decided they're moving it forward anyways. Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you want a yes or a no, or what was?
A yes or no would be.
I think if
I
you
just want to
ask,
make sure I understand. I don't understand. Public Safety Committee is asking us for our input.
Yeah.
But is sending it forward even before we have a chance to give them input.
I think it's more, well, there's an issue with the timing of this, because at the time that Councilmember Von Wilpert scheduled it, we had not scheduled this, right? We had our meeting, it was supposed to be 2 weeks ago, but we hadn't gotten several of the things yet for this meeting. So I don't think it was their intention to kind of delay things until we're ready to vote on it. I think it was we're going forward with this. We would remember, because remember our last recommendation, the issue with them was that we don't have a contract yet. So if we have time to review it, I don't think I don't think the intention was to have the PAB review it after passing Public Safety Committee. I think it just happened to come out that way. They had no intention of delaying until after but we also had no intention of scheduling an emergency meeting. But I think we can still provide important recommendation modifications, or altogether, if it's clear that something is going to be an issue, a glaring issue for the city, we can, I mean, that's something that's probably fair to act on too.
Because this issue of timing keeps coming up, you have the mayor who's blaming the ordinance, and perhaps by default, those people who come and speak to the ordinance and the process that takes. And because we didn't have information available so that we can actually meet in a timely fashion to give them the advice that might have been beneficial for them, maybe another subcommittee, maybe something can be done for us to actually look into the reasons why some of these things are taking so long, because I know everybody here is constantly willing to discuss and engage in these types of conversations, but it seems like the ability to do those types of things is continuously blocked, and we're getting things late, we're not getting things on time. I don't know if it's the right time to bring that up, but putting thought into, well, why is it that it's actually taken this long to get to some of these cases? I think instead of just lobbing out accusations, maybe actually having some thought and people actually looking into it would be a good idea.
I'm not sure who we think those people are, but there are certainly initial plans to see if we can get more support. So there's certainly a support for getting actual paid staff, right? I think among cities that have privacy policy work done, we're probably the only West Coast city that has an all volunteer effort. So I think there's a couple of things that we can do, and some of those things are already being discussed, and I certainly agree with you. I'm not sure if that's what you meant exactly, but I think getting some of the burden off Chloe and making sure that we can at least have something that's a bit more, bearable for all parties involved makes sense.
So
Lee?
I actually move that we make a recommendation just formally to the city that they delay at least a month until we've had a chance to read the contract and provide comments on the contract. PSC, yes.
I'll second that.
Put it out there directly.
I'm sorry, I thought everybody could hear me, but I apologize. Anyway, that's my,
Might be worth repeating what you said so the people online can hear.
okay, I said that I'm good for all the debate and conversations and exploration and telling people we should delay as long as this does not, whatever we do, impact the safety of the citizens. We got 3.3 million greater area here, San Diego region. And I just want make sure that it doesn't impede or slow down or delay protection, the ability to protect the operations. So, it's 7 of us. We got all these other people out there, And I know you're saying that we speak for them, but the majority, a lot of the people I've spoken to are concerned about not having this technology. And there's a large group of them, you know, concerned about where we're going with this. So that's my 2 cents.
Point of order, I believe there's a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that was, if that you want the motion amended to have that, or if that was something unrelated to the motion proposed. So
I think
we can have the motion
It's
maybe
related.
modified to mention, or maybe a clause for, you know, if it cannot be extended, maybe we want a reason for, we can get that motion a bit more hardened before passing that. I just wanted to,
My question would be, who makes that determination as to this may impede our ability to protect the citizenry?
yeah, that's fair. I was actually going to ask if we had any initial comments or rationale from the city or public safety committee as to why they want the current tempo. If you happen to know, Chloe, or if any entity has mentioned the current timeline. I don't know if, I know there's some technology that the city is interested in using, but I think that was more about the ordinance than about smart streetlight ALPR. I think if there's a reason why this can't be delayed a month, I would certainly, it'd be good to know that before passing the motion.
Excuse me, would that be the city attorney?
Don't know who makes that determination of what makes it harmful, but I'm just wondering if that's been communicated at all, like the current timeline. So I wouldn't know. Maybe we can,
We'll talk, saying that this is doing exactly what the concern was saying, claiming that every delay is a threat to public safety, essentially. So I think we know.
The ask
city's
came from Councilmember Von Wilbert, not the mayor, so I'm not going to speak on behalf of Councilmember Von Wilbert. Thank you.
Oh,
These
okay.
cameras are not being utilized right now, so it's not like they're actively being used
Not being used?
for any ongoing investigations that might affect someone's safety. So I'm not really sure how relevant the issue is at the moment.
I was under the impression that they were used or have been used. I wasn't aware that they were totally shut down or that they haven't been used. I apologize because I thought they have been
But
something before. Am I wrong?
even with that, I definitely, like you said, I don't want to inhibit any tools that departments can use. But what this has brought up to me is, okay, maybe 11 million is not a lot to our city for public safety. Okay. What are the other prices for the other technology? I'm more interested in that. Like, we have to refine this and get our process down for other technology coming on, because HR, I'm sure they've got, intellectual, stuff that we have to evaluate. So I'm not interested in stalling anything. I'd be interested in getting the timeline of the council's vote and public safety committee's vote, like you guys are saying. I'm more about what's the timeline? What are we looking at?
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to gather, what are we recommending as the motion to pass? I agree with all of that. Like, the question is, where is the line of how urgent this is?
I think
Why can't we
we're
wait?
talking about asking them to delay the vote.
Yes,
month.
delay the vote for at
Yes.
least 1 month so we can review documents.
Is there anything we want along with that request? Just,
Can we
request.
modify that to say, can we delay the vote along the timeline that's due for their vote, right? So that we can have an answer or a recommendation at least 3 or 4 days prior to whenever they're planning on voting. I don't want to just put a hard month and then mess up the city calendar for council and public safety. I really want us to collaborate with whatever their calendar is and get our collaboration.
I mean, so they're voting,
That's what it is now.
When do they vote?
it'll be, sorry, the next city council, full council session after our next meeting. However, Public Safety Committee meets tomorrow. They don't plan on moving, yeah.
So basically, we have there's a month right now before they even decide on this contract.
There is no docket date. That's up to the council president. So that's why Councilmember Von Wilbur was giving an opportunity for you guys to weigh in by your next meeting on the 26th, and then it's up to the council president to docket after that date. So you do have a month.
I think the question that was initially raised was, can we get this in front of the Public Safety Committee? Not, do we have a month to give it for council? I just want to make sure I have the initial motions language. And the concern was about getting it in front of the Public Safety Committee and having them delay, not city council.
I don't believe we have much oversight with public safety. We have only the city council. And so in this case, it's more making sure that city council has our full attention and recommendation based upon what we can see.
Got it. I
Just a
thought
point
you,
Point
sorry.
of clarification.
Yep.
So the Public Safety Committee is the city council. It's a group of city council members who are going to then be recommending it to the larger city council. And I think to Chloe's point, it's not the mayor who was asking for this. It's actually Von Wilpert, Councilmember Von Wilpert, who has been asking us for this input. So I think the discussion is around that particular point and not the larger council. I don't think we can have that.
And we sort of have to think ahead too, because even if this does implement and go forward, they have to present an annual report on the findings and how successful it is. And then we also come back and make another determination about things that we want. So if we're out of time, okay, but I'm with what's the motion?
In the interest of time, I do want to wrap this discussion up soon. Again, point of order, we do want, full council to have a recommendation, to have all the information before doing anything. Are we on the same page with Public Safety Committee? Because as of now, and then my larger question was, do we have any more information on the current timeline to keep, to factor in our delay request, if that's something that we want?
Maybe the motion is a bit more general, and if the fact that city council and its related committees not make any decisions until it has our additional review of documents and understanding of the issues that we're requesting or something like that.
With the knowledge that they're meeting tomorrow on this very topic.
Mhm.
Do I have a second for this motion?
Second.
With that wording. All right, one more time, Lee, I think it was about requesting no action at all.
1 month.
I guess, but we're asking council, but I guess since what do you call PSC? Public Sector Committee, on behalf of the council, delay their vote until we have a chance to weigh in.
So my understanding is that the motion is, we are trying to ask the Public Safety Committee by tomorrow to delay their vote until we've had a chance to give them our recommendation.
Thanks for.
That's the verbiage, I understand. That's the second, I understand.
That doesn't delay council's vote, does it? I don't want to inhibit.
Depends on when the Public Safety Committee can get their vote.
Oh, it does. It's a domino effect.
It depends on how urgent. Right, I think the ideal case here is that we get this going quickly.
We're dealing with that now, but I was gonna say, speak to her concern about cost. Hardware becomes obsolete very soon. And so the cost of this, and I think whoever negotiated to deal with them, I think I've taken a look at some of this was all online stuff about how many big cities are using Ubiquitous, over a certain size population. But because the stuff evolves and it becomes obsolete so fast, and newer things are coming up smaller, I think that the person, but I don't have all the details of the negotiation of the deal. So that's one thing I was considering when she was asking that question is, you know, if Ubiquity is probably one of the few players now, but as this technology becomes desired, a lot of other companies and a lot of other people are gonna look at getting into it, and that's in 2 or 3 years could make a huge difference. I don't know how long the contract is for. So I just don't have enough information to be able to.
I think the current motion still stands. Right?
The city has been working with this for a couple of years now. I actually don't think a slight delay of a month would be a major issue.
We'll go ahead and take a vote for that.
So I think what we're voting for now, I just make sure.
We're voting, okay, this is for the motion. I'll go ahead and have Lee say once more, just so that, and I think this is important too, because this is PSC versus council, but go ahead.
We recommend PSC delay its vote on adoption of Smarten ALPR until PAB has provided its recommendations upon review of appropriate documentation and information.
Can you change approval to their recommendation? Because I don't think they approve, correct? They just recommend,
Okay.
I think.
Is the second on that wording?
If I could just add, somewhere in there, of the importance of a community input, as well. Somewhere in there, just that idea. And maybe that falls under our evaluation.
Has provided its recommendation upon consideration of community input.
Right.
That is, can you raise my?
Yes.
With that wording seconded, we'll go ahead and do a vote for that. This memo will be sent to Public Safety Committee before their tomorrow meeting. Khaled Alexander,
Aye.
Dr. Robert Brown, Lee Duran,
Yes.
Tora Gentry Kelso,
No.
Sid Martinez,
Yes.
Pega Parsi,
Yes.
and I vote yes. I think the understanding is they're not going to delay if they can't, if it's unsafe. So I don't think any of us are asking them to keep anyone in harm's way. So I think with that,
Also, I believe that there's a part of the ordinance that actually says if there is an emergency circumstance or something like that, they can bypass all of this. So
Oh.
there is a thing, if there's an emergency.
this keeps in mind that public safety is number one, this yes vote. So I believe that passes. 5 yes, 2 no.
That's correct.
I'm via memo, I'll send it out to them tomorrow. On top of that, we're going to need to actually dig into this a bit, parts of the contract that are questionable use policy. Please give it a few reads. I'm not going to jump into the committee at this time, but we're going to need a committee to jump into that. We'll just appoint one and get started pretty soon on that. All right, thank you. We will get kicked out sometime after 7:30, so we are going to move right on to item 5, action discussion recommendation in city council on body worn cameras and evidence.com technology. With our draft that was published recently. Just kind of. Unless somebody else from the committee wants to talk, I just wanted to mention a few words on this. Go ahead, Tara.
I was just gonna, when you're done giving the overview, I'd like to request for my amendments to our draft proposal.
I do have the committee draft. I published and I added some stuff too.
Okay.
So if it does differ, then we'll get to know. So this, so body worn camera technology was something that, there were some questions initially on the order of, okay, well, this is something that's important, it's something that you need to keep transparency and accountability, but that leads you to really need to scrutinize how data is being handled, how oversight, how auditing is being handled. And those were a lot of the bigger factors considered by the committee that researched this, consisted of Tora, myself, Pega, and Lee. So the use policy draft that was posted that we're discussing, that we're voting to pass, takes what was presented, tries to bring it into compliance with the ordinance, but also really does what we considered to be kind of like a ongoing model. Can we take this and just do a few checks? Can we go through and say, does it enshrine policy guardrails? We can do that afterwards. On that note, we'll go ahead and I just want to make sure public comments, we do have a approval of modifications memorandum draft memo vote. So that was the draft that you see online. That is a approval with modification. So we'll go ahead and take those comments then. Blair and Caleb, ceding time to Tasha.
Hi, Blair Beekman. For this item, I think you brought this up in July. Do we have 2 minutes or 1 minute?
1 minute.
1 minute.
Okay. Important issues around this. For as good as a program as this can be, there was some real concerns to me about body camera being placed squarely on the chest of a person after several years. Is that going to cause an issue? Is that going to cause harm to people? Is there reports going to be made about that and to better understand that concept? It's with that in mind, we have to be able to have those conversations openly and not fear that. There is possibly a lot of tech that is working with the Smart Streetlight program at this time, and we have to acknowledge that. And I don't want that to hurt this process of accountability and openness. And thank you.
Gotcha.
About public safety. On September 25th, Monday, around 6:30 p.m., my two Black sons, 131 and 113, were pulled over by SDPD officers, two very known rogue SDPD officers. When people talk about public safety, I want to know when we're going to be safe from the police. My son was driving down University and the police were going in the opposite direction. They looked at him, they pointed at him, and then they made a U-turn. They pulled my sons over, and on both sides, the officers walked up with their hands on the guns. Now, license plate readers, they run license plates every day. They don't need a reader. My son has no criminal background. Neither one have been touched by any criminal justice system. And my issue and concern is that I asked for body-worn camera via email, September 26th, the next day. I didn't want to file a complaint. I wanted to see the BWC to see if there was a valid or invalid complaint. Well, 2 days ago, Captain Lara, forced it to go on to next request. I didn't ask for it to be a public record request for all of the public to see because I know better. BWC can't be seen by the public unless it meets certain requirements. But as a parent of a 13-year-old Black child that your officers detained, under your policy, I have the right to view that BWC if it will resolve a possible complaint. Well, Captain Lara felt the need, along with Chief Nisley, to withhold that BWC. So when Chief Nizlai goes before the public and talks about the spirit of transparency, how is that? My son came home that night, got in my bed with me and held me tight because he said that he thought they were going to kill my 31-year-old son. I'm a Black mother. I'm an activist. And I have been very, 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 very patient. Chief Nizlai has defamed me several times.
That's time.
And I would hope that you all will really review BWC because they are not transparent and they need to be held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to online comments.
The original.
Yeah, as I've told you guys before, I mean, it might have been a sheriff that I was beat up by, but the police have since said that because of that, I'm a threat to them, and I can't even get access to the body worn camera from that officer. But regardless, he didn't even turn it on. So it's sad that when you're in some kind of confrontation or, you know, whatever, I wouldn't even say that, when the police beat you up or come after you and attack you, you don't have any recourse to go and get information from them, but, you know, they can request any and all information from us. Why don't they want to be transparent? That's very telling with all the things that they want to do that are against the people. It's not to help us. And if so many people can be attacked or become a threat to someone who they've never done anything to, and they're sitting here telling us that they're protecting us, who do you go to when you really want protection, when the people that are supposed to protect you won't, and they consider you a threat? It's a major problem. And they're not transparent in showing the people these body worn camera footage. Why not? That should be open to the public unless they have something to hide. And everything that they're doing is proving that they have something and everything to hide from the public. Why is that? Because they're corrupt. And if they weren't corrupt, then they'd be willing to show everything that they're doing and say, look, here it is on a silver platter. But they offer us up a bunch of lies so that we go along to get along. And that's the problem.
Any other comments online? We'll open the floor for discussion.
I have just a question for the city. I noticed that there are no, there's no representation from the police department. I just want, is there like an emergency or something that they're attending to, or that they just not? You don't know? Okay.
Won't work.
All right,
Rafi.
well, just for everyone to know that there's no representation from the PD here today to react to the document that we've put out there. So we're kind of going without that dialogue.
I would like to present my amendments to our draft. If everybody has it up. Okay, page 8, if we look at the draft that we drafted. So on page 8, I requested, let me just get that up. After in bullet F, it ends with 7 bullets. Oh. Oh, yeah, sorry. Page 8, it's at the top, it's bullet F for prohibited recording and other prohibition. And it has some great points there. I just wanted to add at the bottom to reiterate on number 8. That SDPD employees shall not access the body worn camera footage that has been recorded that is not directly related to their own duties on the scene. And then 9, I'm asking to add, oh.
What I have, and I think this is what you're asking for, members shall not access the BWC footage that has been recorded that is not directly related to their own duties on the scene. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, next.
Thank you. And then I have it, the verbiage if you want, but yes.
Okay.
9. SDPD employees shall not access body worn camera footage on their department mobile devices while away from San Diego Police Department or City of San Diego secured intranet wireless network. to me, it was important that we actually put that in there and state it. Because not only does it protect the information and the data being stored or the evidence, but this would also be able to protect any accusations that an officer or an employee was mishandling the data or the footage. So I thought that was important to put in the prohibitions. It's very clear.
Could you
There's
repeat that,
no,
Sarah? Can you repeat the wording, please?
yeah, which one? 8 and 9?
No, just 9.
9, SDPD employees shall not access body worn camera footage on their department mobile devices while away from SDPD or City of San Diego secured intranet wireless network. That was page 8. And then on page 11, I thought it was a little vague. So when when you're writing technical documentation, you don't want any loopholes or any, problems. So if you look at the top on bullet C, it says accessing or viewing BWC files or videos, okay? And in that parentheses, it says, for example, home, internet, public Wi-Fi, and I added cellular or mobile, etc. And one of the reasons why Pega knows in IT, there are a lot of people who will say, oh, well, what about cellular or mobile? That's how I'm accessing it. So I added those two. I request that we add those. And then on page 16, it was,
Yeah, we're reading out what modifications to the current posted draft. So these are in addition to what currently exists on the draft that the committee posted. And I actually have, I'm gonna recommend on top of these changes, another small change, but continue, Tora. Does that, sorry, does that help, Khaled?
I thought.
We'll restate all of this at the end, but right now it's, we added 7 and 8 to page 8. Just being a little more strict on how the data can be accessed.
Okay, I thought we were looking at the draft for the PAB vote.
We are looking at that. Tora's proposing new changes on top of that. Yeah. The full use policy. Continue, Tora.
okay, page 16, under other reviews. So in the paragraph talking about detectives sending body worn camera footage to the district attorney and the city attorney, it says detectives and personnel assigned to investigative assignments are responsible for forwarding BWC video evidence to either the district attorney or city attorney evidence.com accounts. Digital evidence will be submitted at the same time the case file is submitted for prosecutorial review. So I would like to add F that says proper documentation in the investigative case file of the forwarded body worn camera footage to the district attorney or city attorney evidence.com accounts must include date, time, case number, officer badge IDs, sender name, position, and badge number if applicable, and then the recipient name, position, and agency. And one of the reasons why I did that is in case files, whenever there's a chain of custody, a change in chain of custody, there is a documented note or some type of an entry, handwritten or whatever, documented. And if we're saying that we agree with detectives sending evidence over to the DA or the city attorney, I think it's really important that that's also documented so that no one can come back and say, well, I sent it. Well, who sent it? And when was it sent? And so I think having a log or proper documentation of the chain of custody transaction is important if we're really talking about data integrity and evidence on that footage on that website. So that's all.
Anybody have current thoughts on those additions? Would anybody have any clarifications they seek for that? Mega? I asked in case I may propose further changes because I okay with accepting that as stated unless you have modifications. Oh, we have it brought up so you can view it if you're voting online.
I apologize to those online who get dizzy when people scroll. I just want to make sure everybody's looking at the same thing. So scrolling down to see the amendments that have been opposed. These are Taurus right here. Added in,
Oh, thank you.
member shall not access. I should make this. Everybody done reading this one? Okay. Okay. Those are the officers that are assigned.
The rest-
Body worn cam.
The rest of the use policy, members is used in the context of personnel, employees of SDPD.
Yeah, mine says PD employees, but you're right,
Yeah.
their definition.
I tweaked that, so it says it was consistent, but I think the intention is the same.
Yeah.
And then, the whole point of these changes, so it's just least privilege, right? Need to know basis. These are just consistent themes, so you shouldn't be accessing data. You shouldn't have the ability to access this data unless you have a demonstrated need.
This was the second clarification, adding in cellular or mobile as part of the restrictions.
Pretty sure the article will pick up on a lot of it. I'm saying when some of this stuff could be have a signature or approval before people are able to go ahead and do. I mean, that's the change. Follow what I'm saying? That the data of this nature should be seriously protected. I'm sure the article will pick up on the fact that no, but I hope they do. I hope they pick up on it. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that the auditors pick up on the use and how this data is being stored and dealt with, because this is critical. There's a lot of liability concerns involved in this. So I don't know if they've had a look at this, any of this yet, but I'm pretty sure they'll pick up on some things and probably have more additions to add to this.
Data access, data retention, third-party access, and auditing are so important. They all have their own sections in this use policy. So the answer is yes.
Okay.
Okay, so if you would please scroll up to the other highlighted portion on page 6. On top of those changes, which I think it seems like we're all in agreement on, just want to add a clarification to whatever we vote on. There is a highlighted section in the draft use policy on page 6 that has this terminology here. So these two options below replace number 3 and number 4 above, and what, including voting for either of those options will also remove the following section D number 2. So that clarification is not on the draft, but I just wanted to make that clear to everybody. You have it on the screen. So if we vote for either the 2 or sections, then that policy will get rid of number 3 and number 4 above, as well as the following section D number 2.
So let me give a little bit more background on this. First of all, just so everybody knows, we reviewed several other cities that had body worn camera use policies. They were very robust. We also included our own PD's proposed use policy, as well as their departmental procedures. What we noticed was that there were other cities that did not allow recording of these sorts of sensitive situations, such as child abuse or sexual violence victims. The committee thought we should bring that up for everyone to decide whether or not we would want them to record or to prohibit them from recording. I use the PD, our PD's own language here. So our PD prefers to go ahead and record these sorts of encounters. But there were others, I believe this first one, BWC statements shall not be used. This one's from Oakland. The second one is from NYPD. So the reason this is here is for us to decide whether we want them to record these sensitive situations or not. Page 6.
Yeah, so that added clarification is there. It's not on the document online. There's also a slight change. Can you scroll down to page 12? I haven't highlighted it yet.
I like the second, the NYPD one, if we're asking for preference.
G, member review. That's page 12 up. So that first one under A, can you highlight subject to the restrictions further below?
Oh, are we done with number 6? Oh,
Sorry.
got that.
Yeah, that was the only change.
Oh.
The additional was that's subject, A is subject to what's said below, just so that we're inclusive. Just so that A doesn't cancel what's stated in D3H for reviewing video footage. Yeah, so back on the
Okay, so,
policy reviewing.
so this one's just clarification. It's not changing the policy.
Yeah.
So let's go back again to the conversation about whether or not the PD should or should not record sensitive things such as interviews with sexual assault victims or child abuse victims. I will note that this actually is under recommended recording, so they're not required to record, but they're highly encouraged to. They have some level of discretion, especially if the individual requests that they not record it. I personally think we should keep what is already here, meaning keep what our SDPD has proposed, as opposed to either the Oakland or the NYPD one.
So are we saying, we're saying, you prefer that we keep the 1 through 5 and then not use either one at the bottom? Okay.
Yes.
I'm okay with the wording as originally written.
Well, are we going to accept all of these at once? Okay.
I anticipate, unless there's big changes, I think we're going to be okay with these changes and vote on that as a whole, unless someone has strong suggestions they have in mind. We'll vote on this and then.
This
just
one
raise.
needs its own vote, I think.
Yep.
Because the others are just clarifications or adding a little bit of meat on the bones, but not changing it. This is an actual policy difference.
Yeah.
So I would move to keep 1 through 5 as they are, as the SDPD recommended.
I just want to hear if you had, this was a completely sure thought, or if you were torn on this. Because I just can kind of see all the angles here and I was led, I could kind of see one or the other.
I had some thoughts on this, and here's why I was kind of torn on this, because it does have implications for the Fifth and Sixth Amendment, right? Because you're giving up your right to remain silent. If you're being recorded, that could be used as evidence, but it does note what sort of swayed me to keep this in there is that the individuals, when they decline, if they say, well, I sort of waive my right, then it sort of deals with that Fifth Amendment issue. And there's also as a Sixth Amendment issue because that has a right to counsel. And so if you're ever interviewed by law enforcement, if you don't want to talk, you don't just say my Fifth Amendment, all you say is, I want to talk to my lawyer, and that's, you've just invoked your Sixth Amendment right. So the fact that it has in there, it has that language in there that they're documenting that people are, they're aware of what they're doing in waiving their Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights and being interviewed, or it's not an issue, then that makes me feel a little bit better about that.
And also to clarify, this is limited to victims and witnesses.
Right.
So not the suspects.
But just for clarity, in lots of field investigations that I've gone out with law enforcement, for example, when there's a shooting, they treat the victims like they're suspects. And so in a lot of cases, law enforcement, they can't tell who's the victim and who's the perpetrator. So I think having those protections in there are very important because it's not clear sometimes who is the victim.
I was exactly going to say just that. It's hard to tell until after the fact who is a victim and who's not. So recording that is just safer. Nothing else. I think that for that reason, I lean that way strongly because you just can't always tell until later. So you may as well, you should just.
I think I actually, reflecting on this, the language in that sentence says, when possible, the individual's declination should be recorded. I would just take, my only amendment there would be the individual's declination should be recorded, because I think when possible leaves that a little ambiguous as to whether they're recording, whether people consent to waive their Fifth or Sixth Amendment right. I would say when possible is too vague. It should just be the individual. So I just take when possible out. That would be my amendment to that section there.
We didn't get to cover the number 6, my page 16 stuff, but I think we're good with it, right? Adding the meat to the audit.
Just the removal of when possible.
All right, this was none. I do want to move on. So let's, all changes so far seem to be good. You want to go ahead and talk about page 16?
Hold on, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So we are adopting what our PD wanted. Yes, 1 through 5.
I plan on raising a motion for these changes as discussed,
Oh, okay.
including 1 through 5 at the end, after this. Anything you want to discuss on page 16's changes, Tora?
Just, I can get the wording, but it is what it is. I just want to make sure that we have a chain of custody transaction in the case file. Because evidence.com is online. And so. Yeah, that was good. Proper documentation and investigation. Date, time, case number, officer badge number, perfect. Recipient name, position, and agency. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and raise a motion to recommend body worn camera and X-Telecom technology with the modifications, including the document posted along with today's changes, as stated, include changes to let's see, can you scroll down on this? Yep, all the highlights, page 6.
We don't want.
Yep,
Remember, we just want 1 through 5.
yep. Keeping as written without the or options. On page 6. Moving when possible from the top of the page. Good catch. removing the options presented on that page of the or clause and the or clause. On page 8, the addition of 8 and 9 as stated. The addition of cellular or mobile, page 11. C, D, number C, sorry. As well as page 12, highlighted change under member review, section A. And then on page 16, the additional worded, highlighted wording for data chain of custody. That's the motion.
Second.
All right. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and do a vote. We're voting on recommending body worn camera and Axon.com, sorry, evidence.com use policy with these changes. For the record, yes. Yep.
Okay, I just want this so that everybody knows it, so that it is clear out there. The things that we reviewed were the Baltimore City use policy, the New York PD use policy, Portland PD use policy, Oakland PD use policy, SDPD use policy, SDPD departmental procedures, several of them, as well as some updates that have been proposed to the SDPD's policy. So we kind of cobbled this together from some of the things that we saw in all of those other cities. The other thing that I want to note is, I know if you look at this, it went from 5 pages that the PD had recommended to the 20-some pages that we are recommending. That is both because we've taken some of the good language from those other cities, but also because we took some of PD's own departmental policies and put them in one place. We don't, it is not good practice to have multiple different policies touching on different parts of the exact same activity. So we pulled some, it is the way that these use policies should be is that the departmental pieces, the departmental procedures that are relevant to the use should be embedded in the use policy that the PAB reviews. It should not be a different separate document that we're referencing, but have no visibility into or ability to review. So that's the reason why we've taken and put these kind of consolidated the PD's own stuff along with these other things. So I just wanted that to be read in. Thanks.
The vote. Howard Alexander,
Aye.
Dr. Robert Brown,
Yeah, aye.
Lee Duran,
Aye.
Tora Gentry Kelso,
Yes.
Sid Martinez,
Yes.
Pega Parsi,
Yes.
and I vote aye. I could show those animus among attendees, sorry. 7-0. All right, moving on to our last big item. So let's just get the comments out of the way. I do want to get this going. We have a couple in-person comments for this. Item 6, Blair and Tasha. Our most recently, currently only official version of the list.
They're both 1 minute.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. I should be working on updating things. You know, I hopefully we can be clear that you know, the best practices offer that we can have a good timetable for this fall with the smart streetlight process, and that at the end of mid-December should be a time council can approve the voting process. That would be offering best practices, I think. Good luck to get to that place. I'm not quite sure what policies, what tech you'll be updating here today, but it'll be nice to hear. And good luck how we don't use superstition in the future of the smart streetlight things. Thank you.
Gotcha.
Thank you. I also want to just convey that when you guys come up with recommendations and you look at your own strategies and other city strategies, that you also make sure that you're not duplicating things that are already in procedures with San Diego Police Department. When it comes to the list of technologies that they currently have, with no oversight. I hope that you will be as thorough as you are today with making sure there are recommendations and accountability and oversight for all the tools that SDPD acquires and uses because they are a very corrupt department that has been extremely reckless, that does not have public safety at the first priority when it comes to their rogue, reckless, and corrupt officers who are harming many community members in the Southeastern and Mid-City area.
One online.
The original.
With such a massive list of all of these technologies, I just wonder how on earth are we going to manage to go through all of these in a way that is going to provide, you know, full transparency to the public? Are we going to skim through some of them, you know, put some of them together? Is the mayor and the city going to continue to change the ordinance to say these ones don't need to be in there and of the like? So, you know, there's just so many of them. And as we're wanting to add more, I don't know how we're ever going to keep up with the amount of technology that they have in play and coming into play in a way that people are going to understand exactly what's going on around them. Is it going to be rushed or are we going to be able to really, you know, look through all of these and make sure that they're necessary, make sure that, you know, the police are providing the public with the correct information so that we can have full knowledge of what's going on and where our money is going, because the people are paying for this and we have every right to know.
Let's go and open this up. Any initial reactions? I think we've made our impressions regarding the timing. Here we are, October, right? Discussing for the first time this technology list. I think that should be kind of the lead here. So where do we go from here?
So with regard to the list of existing technologies, it's a massive list, as a caller just mentioned. I'm particularly interested in the technology that disproportionately affects Black and Latino communities. They often feel the brunt of much of this surveillance technology. It's well documented that our communities are over-policed and underprotected, and this technology plays an important role. Having said that, I do spend a lot of time in the field, and I am very familiar with the latest technology in different cities in California. So my motivation for selecting the technology is sort of based on that. For example, what would be an example of that? Drones. Most cities now are using drones. I went out with a department about a month ago. There was a shooting and they had 2 drones up on the shooting scene. And they have a special unit now that just mans drones. There's little or no oversight. Most people in the community don't even know that this unit exists. And so already drones have a huge presence in cities, right? And so those would be the kinds of things that I'd be paying attention to. So I have a list of items that I've identified from my field work that are used that many people in the public don't know are being used. So I think that would be, for me, the most pressing issue. Technologies that are currently used in Black and brown communities and that have little or no oversight.
know we're all a bit busy, but has anybody kind of read through it and noticed that there's things that are missing? For example, SDPDS technologies that are missing there that kind of weren't in our that they listed on their site that are in that inventory. So, which kind of leads to the question, like, where is this level of, where is the planning level coming from, and how confident can we be in that level of oversight? Areas that have agencies missing altogether. Just, I mean, there's technology there that, yeah, it makes sense that it's on there. I mean, you look at like Snapchat and you look at 40 or 20 listings of like a video recorder. You think we can maybe reapproach this list? Maybe we can ask to revisit. Hey, can you simplify this? If you have 10 instances of the same video recorder, maybe there's a way you can list this, or maybe there's a way that you can categorize things if this really is your full list. Initial reactions, but I just think there's some things that seem to be missing. There are some things that we could probably do with.
Just to add to that, we do have a lot of technology, and this Excel spreadsheet is extremely vague. Doesn't have a lot of detail. So I think it's very important. I'm sure SDPD has a division that deals with technology, just like the drone unit I mentioned in the department. So I think it would be very useful for us to have some representatives from the police department that oversee some of the technology for clarification, because we get one or two sentences in here that tell us about this technology. And unless you've been in the field and seen some of this stuff, it's not going to mean anything to anybody. People will have no idea what this stuff is.
I see there's use there. Would there be use in maybe getting some other people, maybe some of the vendors themselves? I'm not saying it's possible for all cases, but it's not always going to be possible to understand every use case.
Yeah.
When you ask the user of a technology, sometimes they aren't aware of the capabilities themselves. Maybe it's after the fact that they find that. So I think that's something to consider. You had a question, Tara?
Yeah, we're talking about the whole list, right? The whole city. So I was able to look at the list, and I'm familiar with some of the technologies being used. And what I noticed in my professional technology capacity is that there are a lot of softwares and technologies being used that are outdated and actually may not be security compliant or the best efficient way to be utilizing things at the city. And so there were several on here. What I'm very interested in is the yellow or the orange indicator for line 132 in the spreadsheet for the Get It Done app. And I think we all know that that's a web application, and that's, to me, for it to be orange, I'm like, okay, but I'm very interested in that because it sits on the platform for an application I'm certified in. And I sort of wonder if there's security encryption and things going on with some of the addresses and things like, so I'm looking at all of these and just sort of seeing that I want to say 68%, 70% of them are outdated, and it'd be great for us to be able to look at better solutions for this, because when it comes to storage, encryption, and data privacy and security, it's important that we're going to do what we got to do.
But all the entry for binoculars, you think that's a good, it's a good privacy surveillance technology? It's a technology used to surveil people sometimes. So I think there's a lot of things that we can, I don't know if pushback is, it won't always be pushing back. It'll be clarification. It'll be, okay, here is what we would consider, and it can be iterative, but I really do wonder, right?
Don't forget the NanoPure water still and the deionization filters for water involved in lab processes, I think.
And
Or the camera at the golf course doing surveillance.
I was told Bill Gates can track you in your water, so.
Yeah, there's a camera.
Off the record, that's not actually true. I just want to make sure that's not on the record. Do we have any, I think, bigger points? I think we probably want to dive into this on the committee level. Maybe we'll appoint this committee. If we have any people that are very interested in this, I think we want to do that. But it also seems like we're getting our Oscar music to get out of here. So
think we should seriously consider reaching out to organizations and experts that we've invited before, like the Trust Coalition, like San Diego Privacy, and ask them if they have recommendations of things that we should be looking at quickly.
I want to,
Also, are there some of these technologies that can be just kind of put on a consent agenda and move through some of those as well?
sorry, are you saying there are technologies that could be considered?
I'm saying, I think it would be a good idea to reach out to community organizations that we've heard from before and see kind of what their recommendations are, both on things that we should dig in and find out more about, but also technologies that maybe people aren't overly concerned about, like the ionized water stuff.
So helping us prioritize.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, these ideas are really good. I really encourage people to join these committees. As you guys all saw for the body worn cameras, there's so much solid, good stuff that happens underneath, behind the scenes. I'm just excited for that use policy because I feel like cities will kind of use that then as the guide. I think we're gonna have something similar here going forward. If I'm getting any interest, I can maybe take this offline, but I think I just really encourage you guys, think about it. Maybe we'll convene, or at least I'll reach out by the weekend and we can get something going forward because there's a ton of data there. There's a ton of things listed, but I think if you just break it down, there's a lot that can be done. And I think we kind of already are. So
just kind of going off that point and Khalid's point, so maybe based on community input, maybe we can try to establish a short list. I don't know how short that list is going to be, based on community input and based on what we decide from our conversations on the subcommittee, how to put together a short list. That seems like that might be one way of thinking about moving forward.
open to this conversation. This is, I mean, our last moment to talk about this for a while. So these are really good ideas. I think the inevitable committee will have a good amount of information to draw from. I just do want to point out that for the list, we have the current list, but I also kind of want to make sure we're all, are we happy with this list the way it is? Is this something that we want to consider our official list from the city? Because this is per the ordinance, this is required. This is our kickoff document. So I just want to underline the importance of this document, and we can probably push back if we feel like we're not satisfied here.
Just to understand correctly, because I had forgotten the comment that you made earlier, that there's some things that are either on here or not on here that are in other lists. Or are you asking, are we confident that these are the technologies that are out there and that there aren't some that, like, I'm gonna be honest, I was just kind of, silly me, just kind of trusting it. But
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
we
Don't
think
do like.
there
look
might
at
be
it. There's
technologies.
some, give it another pass, give it some scrutiny. I think you'll see that necessarily hold up. However, the committee, I think, will have, I'm not sure what we can do between meetings that the committee can actually assist with, because we can't, like, Brown Act wise. So I want to make sure, if you are happy with that, great. If you aren't happy, the committee, I think city attorney is reachable. We can come back and say, hey, we need an actual more solid document to do work on this.
Who does this document come from?
City clerk, city attorney, deputy city attorney.
IT in the compliance department.
But I know someone gives an okay to disseminate it after the appropriate people have.
IT in the compliance department.
It's interesting, as kind of as Sid mentioned, there's no drone technology at all on this. And so it might be interesting whether they actually have drones or not.
Yeah, I'd like to know that. So maybe getting somebody, if there's a representative from the police department also that might have some insight on the latest, because this stuff is just coming out all the time, and I think it's hard for even the city to keep up with.
I think that's something that will probably be important to talk to them about. I'm sure you'll be able to, at least the committee would be able to get that answer directly. Any further points before we adjourn today?
just the last point that I'll make, kind of, again, in support of the ordinance and everybody who is working on this board. I mean, just the idea that so many of these things have already happened without any type of input. And that all of these technologies, all of these things are being used currently to surveil according to what they sent us. And then to come retroactively and say, oh, well, you're asking too many questions, I think is besides the point. I mean, the reason we're here and it's taking longer than anybody would like is because there has been no process like this one up until now. And that's certainly not the fault of the ordinance or everybody who's serving here as a board.
Sorry, I'm excited to see what this committee does. Anything else here?
Yeah, last thing, don't hate me. Is there a reason why we always meet here? Like, is it not possible to meet in other locations that might feel a little bit less auspicious and maybe a little more community oriented? As much as I like sitting here with Raul, Councilmember Raul Campillo's nameplate. Well,
Are you
maybe something to look
suggesting
into.
like a library in a community or something like that?
Yeah, I think we're certainly welcome to use whatever public facility open to the public that may be easy for people to get to. I was under the impression that at least this location is pretty central. And we have facilities, right? We have the ability to at least somewhat
I
rely on AV.
recommend, if I may, that we start using the southeast, the Live Well Center, new one. That's a lot.
We can meet wherever, we can meet whenever. I was actually saying we can avoid traffic, but Live Well?
Live Well, it's nice. They are. Without, they're saying that they welcome organizations coming in.
Just want to make sure that we're compliant with, state laws, making sure that we can make it accessible. All the Zoom stuff isn't an issue.
Free parking. It adds
Sold.
up. Yeah, it adds up.
All right, raise a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Consents. Thank you.
How reasonable we are.